the next panel is called Go West, Scaling Startups to Europe and the USA. And really this is touching on a lot of the themes that were discussed in the investment panel this morning, where again and again we heard everyone saying we are in countries with small home markets and Baltic startups that want to be big need to be born global. And so this panel is all about discussing how to be born global and how to actually get there. So I'd like to first briefly introduce all the panelists. From the end there, we have Kristina Narusk, who is a member of the supervisory board of GrabCAD. GrabCAD provides a global online community for 80,000 mechanical engineers. They share 3D CAD files with each other. GrabCAD recently raised $4 million of funding from Matrix Partners and Atlas Ventures. Next we have Chris, who's the CEO of Airplay. Airplay is an iPad-based mobile point-of-sale business. Chris, I think you're based in New York now?
Both, yeah, Estonia and New York.
Okay.
Mixed.
And they have they've recently raised $2 million in funding. They're a Seed Camp alumni, and their investors include Dave McClure and Saul Klein. So next to me we have Kristo Avaska, who's the founder of Startup Sauna. So I think many of you in this room also know Startup Sauna. Startup Sauna has coached a lot of Baltic startups and brought them to the Valley to make, as they call, kick-ass businesses. And it's organized under the Aalto University Aalto Venture Garage. So on my left I have here James York, who's Global Partnerships Manager for FitsMe, the virtual fitting room, an online tool for fashion retailers to help customers get the perfect fit. This is a biorobotics startup. And at the end we have Rain Ranu, who's CEO and co-founder of Fortumo, a mobile payments company from Estonia. He's been working in the mobile industry for 10 years, and before that he was founder and head of business development for Mobi Solutions. So I'd like to, I'm actually going to start from this end with Rain and ask one question for each of you on the panel, and ask you from your particular perspective to talk about one key challenge or pitfall that startups in the Baltics face when trying to scale to Western markets, and then what are the key things that they can do to overcome this?
Okay, hello. Yeah, I mean, definitely. Clearly, all startups in Baltics face similar conditions that typically, whenever you do something that is quite niche, then the home market is very small, and the primary reason to go abroad is clearly the market. But there are definite, and we completely agree with this, because whatever you do, we have felt that you might have the best product in the world, but you have to be close to the customers. And really, when it comes to the question whether to be more in the Silicon Valley or more in London or in Helsinki, then it comes down a lot to where the customers are and where the particular industry, has the kind of ecosystems most readily present. And we feel that clearly you have to get outside. Of course, one of the challenges we are seeing, especially in the Baltic region, is that our people, they perhaps are not so much taught and so much inclined to go out and sell. And if you're a startup, you basically, all the founders have to be salespeople, and they have to, in addition to 10 other roles, they also have to sell. And we found that our region, it's not maybe the strongest ability. Just a quick example, when we are recruiting and hiring people from US and Western Europe, then all the CVs we get, people are saying that I worked in my previous company, I raised the revenue from 200 million to 700 million, blah, blah, blah. In Estonia, what you would get for a typical salesperson CV is that I've never done sales before, but I'm a good learner, so I'm sure that I will be an excellent salesperson. Which is strange, because we never get engineering CVs where they say that I've never coded before, but I'm sure will be an excellent engineer in the company. So it seems that the profession of sales is not even recognized as a profession in in some parts of the world. And clearly it's not taught in the universities, it's not taught in high schools, and it doesn't have a good standing clearly in the minds of the people. So I think that's the biggest obstacle that we feel for startups to go international.
But is your sales then in Tallinn? Or
we have altogether maybe 7-8 people who do sales, including the founders, and 5 of them are full-time based in Tartu but traveling a lot, and 2 or 3 are either in Silicon Valley, San Francisco, and we have 1 in UK.
Okay, and you manage them from Tartu?
We manage them everywhere. In our industry, you have to sell a lot at events and where the customers are. And when we are selling to online and mobile games, they tend to be in Europe, in places like Germany, Helsinki, London, UK, and in US they tend to be in the West Coast, San Francisco, Seattle, LA. So that means that our sales team is constantly on the road, either meeting the customer or at the events where the customers are. So it's really hard to say that we're like managing them from one particular place, because even this week, maybe 6 of the 7 people are actually out there at events and meeting people.
Okay. Thanks. So, James, tell me
Yes.
your thoughts on the key challenges.
Similar problems. Most important, yes. Thank you. One of the biggest things about being based in Tallinn is that we're not, at the beck and whim of our clients. We're not close. So when we started to branch out and do sales in the UK, that made sense as a first market, because you could be on a plane in 2 hours and be there. So really distance, I think, is the biggest problem that we faced. And that's why as we grow the sales team, we're looking to have people locally on the ground in the UK, in New York, because ultimately you really do need to be where your customers are.
Okay. So, Christo, so what's your thoughts from having seen a lot of startups growing in terms of the key challenges for scaling?
So I would say that the first challenge and the key pitfall is not taking the leap and leaving your home country, leaving out from your own comfort zone. And at Startup Sauna, we see a lot of those startups that have great potential, great technical talent, and they think their markets are in Finland, sometimes in Sweden also. So what we've seen and what we've done a lot is to encourage roughly 75 teams to take the leap, to buy the, as mentioned before, the one-way ticket to Silicon Valley, and then once you learn enough, you come back. But I think that's, for all of you, the most important thing, and where you can fail is not going there. And I'm not saying that you should go there and invest a lot of money, a lot of time. It takes roughly 500 euros to buy the plane ticket, and then you can do couch surfing and you don't have to even pay for your rent there. So go there, start to meet your customers, start to see what it is, because that's a hub, the global hub, the only global hub of tech entrepreneurs coming for all around the world. So I would say that if you want to be a startup, you have to know how the game is played in NHL of Hollywood of startups. So that's the first thing. And then I think the second thing is a lot of people, when you actually get there, a lot of people waste a lot of time meeting the wrong people and not getting tapped into the right network, which especially in Silicon Valley, 95% of the people are totally crap, as for you, not useful, but the top 5% of the people are very talented, more talented than you can find in Europe, the best in the world in a tech startup scene. So that's the second pitfall, that you waste a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of energy meeting all these guys that are willing to sell all kind of services and speaks perfect English and seems to know everything about tech, but are really the lower part of the ecosystem, and they are trying to make money there. So make sure that you tap into the right network and talk to, and whenever you decide to take the lead, talk to these guys and the guys that you trust back here that definitely have been able to tap to the right network, so you save a lot of money and time. And that's what I've seen with the 75 startups that have been traveling with us in Valley, and that's the role of Startup Sauna, that we tap them right into the right network instead of wasting their time and energy.
Okay, thanks. Chris?
So thanks and hello to everybody. Our key issue was actually the cultural difference, and then the point was that we weren't very comfortable in that new environment, and then we had our own rules. We still have those here in Baltics pretty much. So even to find right people is a key issue, because don't trust their CVs, what they write there. So to raise the sales from 50 to 200 millions, probably they in reality didn't do that, you know. So for us it was like hard actually to start moving there, but thanks to Seed Camp, who pretty much connect us not only with the right people, but also they connected us. They dragged us actually to the right culture, and then the difference was pretty bad. So we initially started with like bunch of Estonian guys actually doing biz dev in New York, but we finished that, and now we have Estonians working in Estonia and New York guys working in New York, because for Estonian it's not very simple to like I don't know, live in New York with like $5,000. It's pretty much not possible. For a New York guy, it might be possible because maybe he rents the couch, but in Baltics, this is not the life you want to live actually. So the living expense in normal way can be pretty drastic there. And even like Christos said nicely that 500 euros, not too much. It actually is for Baltic people pretty much. And then if you go and eat something, then you see the burn there, you know. So even such kind of like financial burdens are potential issues. And then for that reason, the different accelerators and then the events and then the Seed Camp style companies are really thankful actually, because without that, you don't do the first step. You're afraid to do that step, and then actually you have right, because if you go to New York alone, you have nothing to do there. Nobody waits you. You got no connections there. You might shop around, but that's it. You know, you find no customers there, for sure. So that's the key. So try to connect with somebody, some kind of like booster, and then choose the booster not because of money, but because of their network and what they done already. So if they can bring you there, this is the right to go way.
Great. Christina, GrabCat?
Hello everyone. Just to reflect on the opinions of the other guys over here, I would actually bring in a little bit of contradictory opinion into this group, and say that it's like fairly easy to get or get started or get going in Estonia or in the Baltics or even in Scandinavia right now. But there is a thing that I would call like a frog pond syndrome, which basically means that there is a very closed circle or limited group of people who do a lot of networking over here, a lot of brilliant brains and ideas and people to give feedback on your product, on your idea. But there is a very high danger of getting an illusion that okay, this is something that will work worldwide. If 10 people from my circle of friends or my business contacts like my idea, that doesn't definitely mean that another million people likes that idea and will be willing to pay for it. In GrabCat's case, I'm not sure if it's fortune or just luck that when the company was founded at the end of 2009, because the idea was very mechanical engineering industry specific, that really basically no one has any idea about it in Estonia, let alone in all these technology related people and circles. If we had listened to the opinions of the potential investors and the startup people in Estonia, probably Hardy and Indrek should have closed down the business in a month or so. because it was very unsexy area. There has been no innovation done in the CAD and mechanical engineering industry in the last 10 years. So no one really outside the engineering industry knew any of the potential. Actually, before applying to these great programs like Seed Camp and TechStars that GrabCAD has actually graduated, what one of the founders did was just jump on the plane and spend 3 months in the east coast of the US. That was highly criticized at the moment as well, because in Estonia there was this kind of knowledge that all the VC money is in Silicon Valley. So why would you go to Boston? It's a boring place. There are no famous startups growing up from this area, so why would you go there? The reality is that probably 80% of the US engineering and CAD industry is in the east coast of the US. So during those few months at the end of 2010, it's exactly the same thing as Ryan started. You have to go there where your clients and where your industry are and where your users are. When we reached the first 1,000 engineers as users of GrabCAD, it took 4 months. It took another 4 months to reach 2,000, another 4 months to reach 40,000, and probably likely next Wednesday we have 100,000 engineers as our users. So I would say that whatever your idea is, it's the industry itself that you should gather the first feedback and try to push your idea and try to get in touch with the people actually working in this industry that they know what they're talking about and who can actually objectively criticize your business idea. It's very trendy to start a startup. It's very easy today to do that in the Baltics, but it's extremely difficult to turn this startup into an actual business. So I would say that this is probably the most difficult part of scaling your company and scaling into the actual market segments and geographical locations where your potential revenue in a few years' time will come. So yes, all this startup ecosystem is extremely helpful, and you get your confidence boost from here. But then again, you still have to look at your original idea. You have to look where your first 1 million users will come from, and then actually go there. The fact that the first 10 people say no or criticize you doesn't mean that there's still no potential.
Yeah, that's a great insight. So I've heard a lot of discussion about going to the customer. So one of the key questions that I know a lot of startups here are facing and they're thinking about is which customers, and the big choice really is US or Europe. So you guys have been working a lot in Europe, in the UK. So why the UK? Why not go to New York and focus on the fashion industry in New York?
We actually are in New York. We just launched relatively recently with Guild Group's full-price menswear site, Park and Bond. So they're our first US customer. We do have more in the pipeline. So there's going to be exciting times coming.
So but how did you choose UK first? Because presumably you've been working on that for some longer time.
It goes back to what I started with, was that it's a 2-hour flight away. So at this point, our CEO and our COO, who are doing most of the sales, at this point, they're spending probably about half the month in London and the other half in Tallinn. And so really it's a launching pad for us. And from there, we'll be going into the US market more aggressively.
Okay. Ryan?
Yeah, I already answered. I think that one is that, I mean, need to go where the customers are. And actually, even in London's case, I mean, our customers are in the US more so than perhaps in Europe, or they're more concentrated in the US than they are in Europe. But even in London's case, coming from Estonia, it might be 2 hours away, but it's 2 hours actually in the middle of the day. So you can't make a next day appointment in London. because all the flights go there from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. and when you arrive from the airport it's already in the evening. So I think that's another obstacle that we might have here, that even though Europe should be so close, then the flight connections that leave from here can actually hinder business in a way.
But so you guys have been selling globally for a while now. Go back. So presumably you didn't start everywhere all at once, because the challenge a lot of startups face is where do I start? So how did you figure that out?
Yeah, I mean, we started kind of like everybody starts, I think, in Estonia. You know, you get something up and running in Estonia, and then you think of the next markets, and you would go to Latvia, and then Lithuania, and then maybe Finland, and then Scandinavia. So we've been all through that as well in the early days. But at some point, really, we, you know, somehow came to switching the mentality that we don't go to the country, but we rather go to the customer. And I mean, that's a big shift in the mind state, is that, you know, I'm not, I mean, an Estonian company exporting to Scandinavia or exporting to whatever US market, but more or less I'm an international company in a very small niche, and I go and try to get the best customers in that niche wherever they are located. So that helped us a lot ahead.
Okay. So Chris, you guys, how much are you guys doing in Europe? Or is it really US is the focus, and why?
Actually, we have now like pretty much like 3 companies. So one is fully oriented to US market, another is Europe, and then third is our like HQ and then also development engine. So to look back, I think the US now is the fastest growing, and also it has the greatest opportunity, at least in our space, which is ERP and then the like inventory management and software side. Because the biggest customers there we are reaching now, they have really like thousands of employees and locations and stuff like that. You really can't see such kind of scale in Europe. So yeah, for us, the both markets are important. So, but we also tried to initially like to go to Latvia and then to Finland, and luckily nobody wanted us here so much. So we need to like reconsider. But how we decided what kind of like physical locations we open, let's say like New York versus like San Francisco, etc. Actually, we just did our recruitment, and then based on the feedback of that, from where we found the best priced guys and then the most like the talent we wanted to have, based on that we actually made the decision to open another company in New York, and then boost it there, and it really works out very well. Actually, Americans are really working hard, and then maybe only advice like a bit inside is that don't use too much like the LinkedIn and then other recruitment tools for like mid-level and lower level guys, because the expectations from LinkedIn are probably very high, and then where you have been like part of any kind of like booster, probably they ask too much. So try to go more like lean way, try to use Craigslist and then more like such kind of like random things, because what you really need is like great persons and then great talent, and actually it doesn't matter for startup if the track record is like crazy cool. You can really find the guy just graduated and then worked maybe like as intern at IBM or something like that. And by the way, interns, they don't get any pay there. So even if you offer them $1,000, it's much more than they get today, right? So it might be easy way. And then you have your own guy there. And this is like big step actually. So like looking back, the bad decision was that we tried to scale our US operations using only Estonian guys. Now Estonian guys are doing what they know the best. They do the software, they do the implementations, they maybe pitch the customers who are already hot or like, you know, willing to buy something. But the local guys are doing connections, and then the work base is so heavy there that honestly none of our guys have ever seen such kind of like high pace. So it's very different.
Okay. So from Finland, Christo, you see a lot of. I mean, there's a very, very strong tie to the valley, and you talked a lot about the valley. Why not focus more on Europe? What is it that drives this strong Finnish connection with the valley?
So I think to disclose, I mean, it's not the right place for a lot of startups to be in Valley. It's not even the right place for a lot of startups to raise funding, but it is great and essential place to go to learn and to understand how startups are actually built, what is the market, what are the top tier players doing. So I think answering to the question, applying that knowledge and understanding and going to other markets, either in Europe or in Asia, it's a great potential. And recruiting, raising funding, but especially recruiting, it's extremely hard and extremely expensive in Silicon Valley. So having engineers in Europe, in Finland, in Estonia is a great choice. Then of course you have to think that who are you selling? So if your main clients are Facebook, Google, Apple, you better be there. But if you think about aiming to European markets, then definitely here.
Okay, and Christina, so why not go to the mechanical engineering community in Germany, for example? Very strong community.
It's a very good question. I would answer it that it partly comes down to, in GrabCat's case, it comes down to the actual product market fit topic as well. Out of the bunch of on the stage here, we are, I think, the youngest company, so we still have a lot of work to do in this category. But to answer your question really straightforwardly, a year ago, it would have made perfect sense to maybe focus on the engineering industry in either Germany or France or the UK, based on the knowledge that we had at the moment. We are 1 year older, 1 year wiser. We have times higher user base that actually shows that Europe is not the second largest market, but there's a huge potential in any kind of engineering industry in South America. So the lesson here is that it's tricky to, or it's easy to make premature decisions regarding where to open your office or which is the actual user or client base where to focus, where your actual numbers at the time are relatively low. When your user base or client base grows, you have much more data experience. The learning curve has been steeper by that time to actually make justified decisions backed up with your data and feedback from customers. So today it's not the German or Russian or Chinese that is, for example, the second language after English from GrabCat's user base. It's actually Spanish, or Portuguese. So yes, one thing is where to structure a company. We have headquarters in Boston, which makes perfect sense because of this industry background over the east coast of the US. But in terms of where to establish your business development, your sales, actually which direction to take with your product development, it's much easier to do when you actually have like a growing number of users all the time.
Christo?
And to add to comparison with Europe and Silicon Valley, and to take China in part, so and why we are so focused on Silicon Valley, we decided that's the most important place to get knowledge and train the startups. So we are now building the same operations in China, so we decided to take the both, that we bring the startups that we have at Startup Sauna to Silicon Valley and to China and learn from those markets and those customers, and hopefully raising funding from both those sources too. So I would definitely take China as very important market for all the startups in future.
Okay. So I'd like to touch on another issue around perception, especially the issue around where your headquarters are and what you look like as a company to the outside world. One of you guys, how have you dealt with this, and what do you call your headquarters? Do you hide your background? How do you deal with it? And and perhaps has that changed over time now?
Well, we usually just say that we have offices in San Francisco and in Europe, and sometimes we say in US and in Estonia, Europe. But I mean, we never hide it, but it's never really the main issue that any of the key customers would look into very deeply. And actually, in US, it's very typical to have such a setup. And we never specify which one is headquarters, and we never really have to go much into details that yes, in the San Francisco office we have 3 people, and in Estonia we have 30 people. It rarely comes up like this.
James?
Yeah, well...
You're just in the process of moving,
yeah,
right?
We are. We're having our corporate headquarters moved to London following the successful closing.
So why?
Again, going back to being close to our customers. I mean, I'm a New Yorker, and that's something that I think really speaks volumes about our team, is that it's really an international team. We have Estonians, we have New Yorkers. One colleague that I have is Italian. We have another Frenchman joining us soon. We really, this kind of international workspace and collaboration really helps us speak the customer's language better than if it was just purely a team of Estonians or purely a team of New Yorkers or what have you. It allows us to overcome cultural differences that you might not even realize are there, and really speak the same language as your customer, not just verbally, but also the subtle nuances that you don't have unless you're a native speaker.
Okay. So Chris, how do you deal with the issue of the perception of where you're from and headquarters?
Honestly, I'm really happy to be proud to be Estonian. So we always say we are from Tallinn, and of course we have like subsidiary companies, and technically our HQ, like in legal sense, is in London, but we don't like name it too much. You know, we mainly even use like the Estonian background as some kind of like extra benefit to say that, hey guys, we are maybe cheaper, maybe we work harder, etc. And of course we have the best engineers, you know from where Skype came, etc. Right, the main joke. And I think this is important also to give back something to our country, so to say it. And then in most press releases we name the Estonia and Tallinn, etc., etc. We don't push so much the HQ thing, because technically we have absolutely differently named company in US, because to legally hire somebody in US, you have to have company there. Otherwise, it's like extremely complicated. And like to be like New York State labor registration number, EIN number, you have to have US company. Otherwise, I don't know what happens. You know, so. But in the same time, when customer comes and then all the news, we try to push Estonia as well, because I think this is good for Estonian startups and company, show the motivation and then start.
Okay, Christina, you?
Yeah, the same over here, because I mean, Estonia has excellent reputation in terms of high quality, highly experienced people in technology industry, so there is absolutely no reason to hide it. It's actually, it actually gives the company a lot of credibility. There are so many good ideas, good businesses, good companies coming out of this area, so I can't really say that we should be, I don't know, ashamed or somehow hiding the fact that we're from Tallinn, Estonia. Vice versa, it's very difficult to hide with our perfect Eastern European accent. So, I don't see that as a problem at all. The reason we have an office in Boston is a very logical step from this first few months that one of the founders spent in this area, purely because that's where the industry experience is.
And is that because the investors said, we're investing here, you need to come here? I've been in a startup that had exactly that conversation.
I would answer it that way, that it was a decision taken at the time to prefer investors from the East Coast, purely with the fact that this is where the engineering companies are founded, born, sold, done IPOs. There is very little knowledge in this area in Silicon Valley. So yes, there were a number of VCs and companies interested in investing in GrabCAD, but when you have the option to choose the best investors and the best fit, and then it made logical sense to pick the ones that have background in that industry.
Okay. Great. So I think we have time for a question or two. Yes, I think there's a mic just down over there. Oh, here it is, right in front of me. So, who wants to ask a question of the panel? Come on, someone's got to get up and ask a question. Even the bolts can ask questions. There we go, right back.
Anatol Innovate. I would like others to touch the same point about exits and investments. So did it affect you seriously when you have opened a US or UK office? Did you have more opportunities than you just did on your own in Estonia and other Baltic countries?
So is this question to a particular panelist, or?
Well, I think only Christine touched this point. Perhaps like Fertuma could elaborate on that.
Elaborate?
I'm not 100% sure I understood the main point of your question, but I'll try to answer anyway. To get the second round of investment, or this 4 point something million that you referred to, yes, it's easier if you are established, or at least part of your company is established in this area that the investors are familiar with.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yeah, next question. We have time for
Any question?
Mike's. Okay, one question there and then Mike.
Thank you for coming here. I have a question about customer service. How do you keep the customers to come back to your services? Because I think that customer service is actually the main thing what actually can be, because even your idea can be wonderful, but if you don't get customers, it's nothing worth.
Yeah, so I think it's a very good question we didn't touch on, is how do you deal with service, client service for customers who are on the other side of the world?
Very easily, the power of Google Analytics. We provide our customers with heap loads of business critical data because as a B2B service, as an e-commerce add-on, we have a lot of back-end integration going in. So we can really give them insights into their customer behavior that they wouldn't be getting from any other source. So we really
when they need to call. When they need to call.
When they need to call. We work all hours of the night.
Okay. Anyone else have an answer on the service question?
Yeah, what we have is like a help desk center in New York as well. So otherwise, they really don't understand you, because when they need to like speak directly or even write, you know, it's time zone is different, etc., etc. And from Estonia, it's technically very complicated to answer West Coast like questions. So. Because it's pretty much vice versa time zone. You know?
Right. So at some point you need to open a service center. So Mike, did you have a question? Mike, did you? Someone else? Okay.
Very brief question about legal side of startups. What kind of who actually was representing you? It's a question for all of you. Who was representing your legal interests in a proper way when you were negotiating your deals with your financiers? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we are using, clearly legal things is something we consider a lot as needed basis. So for instance, when we need assistance in an issue relating to getting the patents or patents, then we find the person who knows that. If we need legal assistance in setting up a US company or managing that, then we get somebody who's specialist in that. So it's always an outsourcing basis, and always we try to get the best expert in a certain area. We are not looking to have our in-house counsel or those things at this stage yet. It's just too much overhead.
Yeah, and just to add, in Estonia, it's been our experience that we're very lucky because we have a lot of local attorneys who have international experience. So especially as you bring products and patents and all sorts of IP to foreign markets, we happen to be situated in a place where we can get experts right around the corner who are specialized in the markets that we're interested in. So it's actually quite convenient.
And the good part of Silicon Valley is that there is huge amount of service providers that are willing to help with you. The hard part is getting the right ones that are the best ones. And the even better is that a lot of those best ones are willing to work for equity. For a lawyer, for example, that you give them advisory shares and you start to pay when you raise funding. So it's actually, the whole ecosystem is made optimized for building startups. So it's quite different, and that's what we should start to require our lawyers here too. Work for free till we raise funding, and then they have a small equity. And that's the only way that startups can practically afford good lawyers.
Yeah, our experience is like be ready to see big lawyer bills anyway, and then you have to do your own negotiations with like financiers. They really don't negotiate like such kind of like core terms. They maybe go and discuss some kind of like points in your like term sheets, etc. But you have to make your own focus on that always.
Okay.
I would just comment that legal bills are always high. Yes, at the end of the day or before like signing big deals or anything like that, you have to have like a counsel or attorney taking care of your interests. But this is also the point where actually the startup programs such as Seedcamp and TechCrunch come handy, because yes, they do have their own interests, but on the other hand, they have a lot of experience. They can give a lot of advice, what are the key points and key issues that the owners and founders in the company should pay attention to. And very often these founders and young startups don't have any experience in signing such contracts, etc. So this is also something that any startups taking part of these programs could get a lot of help from.
Okay, thanks. So I think we're out of time for this panel. I'd like to thank you all for coming. Thanks.
Thank you.